Translation: as people reach old age, when a spouse passes away and the children are no longer around, many elderly people may feel a deep sense of loneliness. To fill this void, they may consider finding a new partner. However, remarriage or cohabitation for the elderly is not a simple matter. It involves many tricky issues, such as financial security, the attitude of the children, what to do if one becomes unable to care for oneself, and so on. Therefore, for the elderly, remarriage or cohabitation must be approached with great caution. Here, 3 experienced individuals honestly share their personal experiences, candidly revealing the 3 fears of cohabitation among the elderly. First, the fear of being taken advantage of. Second, the fear of opposition from children. Third, the fear of being abandoned when ill. Now let us listen to their stories together and see what thought-provoking events they have gone through. First fear: being taken advantage of. Many elderly people live together without obtaining a marriage certificate, merely partnering up to live day by day. Some old men just want to find a free housekeeper, while some old women, despite their age, still want to use their remaining resources to earn some money or a house for their children. When elderly people with such mindsets live together, there are mutual calculations when it comes to money. Elderly people who live together with this mentality will inevitably encounter continuous conflicts in daily life. Living a peaceful old age becomes impossible, and getting angry all day long is inevitable. Such a cohabitation with impure intentions is worse than being single. 65-year-old Mr. Liu, 3 years after his first wife passed away, started a relationship with Ms. Li, a single woman. After getting to know each other, the two of them agreed to live together as a way of partnering up for daily life. Although they did not obtain a marriage certificate, Mr. Liu still treated Ms. Li sincerely. However, Mr. Liu's sincerity did not win Ms. Li's true intentions in return. The two eventually parted ways unhappily. After reflecting on his painful experience, Mr. Liu finally understood that it is not easy for elderly people to find a woman to cohabit with. There are many things to worry about, and if one is careless, at best, it could lead to financial loss, and at worst, emotional harm. Mr. Liu's account: I am 65 years old this year. My wife passed away 3 years ago due to illness. After my wife passed away, I originally planned to live out the rest of my life alone. I lived a single life for a long time and found that living alone was quite good. When my wife was alive, she had a quick temper and would often throw tantrums at home, smashing things when she was unhappy, making my life very uneasy. After my wife passed away, although I was very sad, since birth, aging, illness, and death are natural laws of life that no one can avoid, I was able to accept her death and quickly emerged from the gloomy mood. I ate alone every day, slept alone, and although life was somewhat lonely, I got used to it and it was not so bad. And without the noise of my wife smashing things around, my long-term insomnia problem even disappeared without medication, which made me very happy. This life continued for a year, and I did not feel anything was wrong. In fact, I greatly enjoyed the peace of living alone. However, my health was not so cooperative. One summer evening, my blood pressure suddenly rose, causing a stroke. Fortunately, I was lucky. I had just collapsed when my daughter came by to deliver watermelon and found me. She quickly sent me to the hospital. Luckily, with timely rescue, not only did I survive, but I also did not suffer any aftereffects. However, from then on, I no longer dared to stay alone at home, fearing that the same situation might happen again. At that time, I might not be so lucky. My daughter asked me to live with her, but I was unwilling to go. I felt comfortable living in my own home and did not want to move to my daughter's home and live under the scrutiny of my son-in-law. My relationship with my son-in-law had always been poor. If I moved to my daughter's home, it was easy to imagine how much my son-in-law would hate me. I originally wanted to hire a housekeeper, but when I inquired at the housekeeper market, I found that the cost of hiring a live-in housekeeper was high, almost equivalent to my pension. I could still eat and move by myself, buy groceries, cook, and do household chores. The only reason I wanted to hire a live-in housekeeper was just to have someone accompany me and send me to the hospital in time if my condition flared up. I didn't need a housekeeper to do much for me, but I had to pay them a considerable salary, which I felt was not worth it. Later, through a friend's introduction, I met 58-year-old Ms. Lee. Ms. Lee received a monthly pension of 2,000 yuan and had a son who was already married. Because she had given her house to her son as a wedding house, she became homeless herself, renting an old and shabby place for 600 yuan a month and living a hard life. Although Ms. Lee's financial situation was not good, I did not mind. I am a big man. I never thought about coveting a woman's money. On the contrary, I believed that a woman with poor financial conditions would cherish me more and would live a good life with me. Not long after getting to know Ms. Lee, I proposed cohabitation to her. Ms. Lee said, as long as I agreed to one condition, she would agree to live with me. She asked me to give her my pension savings passbook for safekeeping, saying that this would give her a sense of security. She promised me earnestly that she would never spend my money recklessly. I thought we were both at an advanced age. She couldn't possibly harm me, so I agreed without hesitation and handed her the pension passbook right away. Ms. Lee was very happy after getting my pension passbook and moved into my home the next day, starting our cohabitation life. Although she was a woman, I did not have the mindset of male superiority. When we lived together, I did much more housework than she did. I am not a lazy man. Unlike other men who think that housework is naturally a woman's responsibility and men should just be hands-off bosses at home, I didn't have any demands on her. My only requirement was that she should not make me angry and just take me to the hospital in time if I fell ill. Ms. Lee always said I was a good person, but she did not treat me kindly just because I was a good person. Instead, she took advantage of my kindness and trust and embezzled my money. I discovered that Ms. Lee had embezzled my money after we had lived together for a year. At that time, my daughter wanted to buy a car and was short of 20,000 yuan. So she came to me, asking me to lend her 20,000 yuan temporarily, saying she would definitely pay me back when she had the money. I thought, what's 20,000 yuan? With my monthly pension of 6,000 yuan, I could easily take out 40,000 yuan, let alone 20,000 yuan. Buying a car is a good thing for my daughter. It shows that her life is improving. I couldn't be happier and absolutely wanted to support her. So I excitedly went to Ms. Lee for the money, telling her that my daughter wanted to buy a car, and asked her to take out 20,000 yuan. To my surprise, she hesitated for a long time and then said that all my pension money was spent and there wasn't a penny left. I was utterly shocked. I thought, with my annual pension, there should be at least 70 or 80,000 yuan. In the year we lived together, besides buying groceries and cooking, there was no major expense. It was absolutely impossible that all the money was spent. So, I pressured Ms. Lee to tell me where the money went. Otherwise, I wouldn't let her eat or sleep. Ms. Lee, seeing that I was determined, finally told me the truth. She said all my pension money was used to support her son, to improve her son's daily life. Seeing that her son's life was not easy, she couldn't bear it, so she frequently transferred money to her son. Unknowingly, all my pension money was gone. When I heard that all my pension money was spent by her son, I was furious. I pressured her every day to get the money back. She initially promised to get the money back for me, but after many days, I didn't see any return of the money, so I lost all hope for her and decided to break up with her, ending our cohabitation life. After we broke up, I quickly took back my pension passbook and never let any woman touch it again. This is the painful lesson I learned from this incident. This story is from real life, and it vividly portrays the real thoughts and actions of some elderly people who live together. In their minds, they only think about themselves, calculating every step, trying to maximize their benefits in their old age. They do not know how to give, do not know how to take care of others. They only know how to scheme and take advantage. Living with such a person, even if it's cohabitation, is definitely not a blessing, but a curse. Therefore, when the elderly choose to live together, they must be vigilant to avoid the tragedy of Mr. Liu from happening to them. They must keep in mind that the elderly are too old to withstand the torment of love and hate. What they need more is to live peacefully in their later years, not to be involved in constant quarrels and conflicts. Second fear, opposition from children. When elderly people decide to live together, they must consider their children's feelings and opinions. If they have understanding children, their lives can be relatively peaceful. However, some children worry that their parents' money might be taken away by others, and they do everything possible to oppose their parents' remarriage or cohabitation. Without the support of their children, elderly people may feel burdened and hesitate to take the step of living together. After all, as people age, they need their children's help in many aspects of life. Elderly people also don't want to easily offend their children. Cohabitation without the approval of their children is one of the main concerns for elderly people. Ms. Meng is 58 years old. She has a daughter, and her husband passed away over a decade ago due to illness. When her husband died, she was not even 48 years old. But for the sake of her daughter, she did not choose to remarry during the past decade. Now, her daughter has graduated from college, secured a stable job, and has her own family. Unexpectedly, Ms. Meng began to think about remarriage. Ms. Meng's thoughts of remarriage arose from an accidental encounter when she met Mr. Ma. Ms. Meng was shopping in a supermarket when she accidentally dropped her phone, which Mr. Ma found and returned to her. After this incident, Ms. Meng added Mr. Ma on WeChat, and they began to chat frequently. Over time, they became familiar with each other. Later, Ms. Meng found out that Mr. Ma was 3 or 4 years older than her, and his wife had also passed away due to illness a few years ago. He had not remarried since then. Mr. Ma had a son and a daughter, both of whom were married and had their own families. Both of them had similar experiences. They didn't remarry because they were afraid of causing their children to feel hurt. Due to their similar experiences, they could empathize with each other during their interactions. Most importantly, they got along very well and had many common topics to discuss. Over time, they developed feelings for each other. One day, Mr. Ma confessed his feelings to Ms. Meng, which she had anticipated. Without hesitation, she agreed to his request, and they began dating. However, Ms. Meng was very afraid because she hadn't informed her daughter about her desire to remarry. With a nervous heart, Ms. Meng invited her daughter home and had a heartfelt conversation with her, preparing herself for her daughter's opposition. But to Ms. Meng's surprise, her daughter not only did not oppose the idea but was very supportive. Her daughter said that her mother had the right to pursue her own happiness. After all, she had her own family in life now and couldn't always be there for her mother. She felt that her mother should think about herself and live for herself. If her mother could find a partner, it would be a good choice. Similarly, Mr. Ma's son and daughter were also understanding and supported their father being with Ms. Meng. However, both sets of children proposed a condition. Mr. Ma and Ms. Meng should not get a marriage certificate. For Mr. Ma and Ms. Meng, at their age, it didn't matter whether they had a marriage certificate or not. What was important was being able to live with someone they liked, someone who would care for them when they were sick. That was enough for the rest of their lives. Whether or not they got a marriage certificate was not a big deal. After their children agreed, Ms. Ming and Mr. Ma started living together. After moving in together, Ms. Ming found that Mr. Ma was indeed a good man, caring, attentive, and, most importantly, hardworking. They got along well and lived happily together. Time passed quickly, and before they knew it, they had been living together for 3 years. One time, Ms. Ming slipped and fell in the bathroom, severely injuring her knee. The bone was fractured, and she needed surgery. The doctor said it would take at least 6 months to recover. During Ms. Ming's hospitalization, it was Mr. Ma who took care of all the hospital procedures, cared for her meticulously, and stayed by her side. Ms. Ming once told Mr. Ma that since they were not legally married, he could leave any time. He was not obligated to take care of her. But Mr. Ma replied, "We have lived together for 3 years now. Even though we are not legally married, you are my wife in my heart. Taking care of you is my responsibility. I can't abandon you when you're in need." Mr. Ma's words deeply touched Ms. Ming. After that, she never mentioned the idea of him leaving again. Ms. Ming's daughter, moved by Mr. Ma's dedication to her mother, eventually told him that if they wanted to get married and obtain a marriage certificate, she would no longer oppose it. She said they could get married whenever they wished. Mr. Ma was comforted by Ms. Ming's daughter's acceptance. However, for Mr. Ma and Ms. Ming, their relationship was not just about love or money. After all, both of them received a monthly pension of 3,000 yuan. Their decision to be together was primarily driven by the need for companionship as they aged. For elderly people like them, the greatest fear is growing old, falling ill, and having no one by their side. What they seek is simple happiness, just someone to accompany them through the rest of their lives. What are your thoughts after hearing the story of Mr. Ma and Ms. Ming? 3. Fear of being abandoned due to illness. Minor illnesses are manageable. Just take some medicine and rest, and the elderly couple can generally care for each other. However, the saying goes, even a filial son grows tired when caring for a long-term patient, not to mention when it's just two elderly people living together without being legally married. When serious illness strikes, requiring significant money and long-term care, or when there is little hope of recovery, it's understandable if one of the elderly partners chooses to leave. As the saying goes, husband and wife are like birds on the same tree. When disaster strikes, they fly their separate ways. Even legally married couples might find their relationship breaking down when one falls seriously ill, potentially ending in divorce. How much more so for elderly couples merely living together? Take 78-year-old Grandpa Zhang, who insisted on living with a woman 20 years younger than him, Aunt Li, despite strong opposition from his children. Less than a year after moving in together, he was abandoned, leading to deep regret. Grandpa Zhang, a retired worker, receives a monthly pension of over 5,000 yuan. At 66, his wife suffered a stroke and became bedridden. For 10 years, Grandpa Zhang meticulously cared for her until her passing, without a word of complaint. Zhang has a son and a daughter, both working in state-owned enterprises, with neither time nor energy to care for their mother. They deeply appreciated and respected their father's dedication. However, they were unable to accept that just 1 month after their mother's passing, their father began living with a woman 20 years his junior. They viewed it as a betrayal of their mother, unable to reconcile with the fact that their father's new relationship began so soon after their mother's death. Zhang's daughter was more understanding, not opposing her father's search for a companion, but feeling that he had moved on too quickly. She was still grieving her mother and wasn't emotionally ready to accept the situation. She advised Zhang to wait a year or so, promising to help him find a new companion then. But Zhang, believing he had fulfilled his duty to his late wife, said that she had supported him finding someone to care for him after her passing. He argued that it was better for him to live happily in the future rather than dwelling in sorrow. Reluctantly, his daughter conceded. Zhang's son, however, firmly opposed the idea, believing that at Zhang's age, finding a new companion would be a source of ridicule and would make him lose face in the community. He frequently caused trouble for his father, especially when drunk, even threatening to harm himself. Zhang's new companion, Aunt Li, would hide under the covers in fear, and Zhang would fight to keep his son out of the bedroom. The couple lived like fugitives, as Zhang described, fearing nothing except the possibility of a midnight visit from his son. Eventually, Zhang's son, disheartened, swore off involvement, saying he would no longer care what his father did, effectively severing their relationship. Zhang genuinely wanted a companion who could care for him in his old age and was completely accommodating to Aunt Li's demands. However, Aunt Li had different intentions. Being 20 years younger, she assumed Zhang would likely pass before her and felt it was only fair to get something out of the arrangement. Why should she, still relatively young, be burdened with caring for someone 20 years her senior? So, she demanded security. She told Zhang, "You've seen how your children oppose our living together. I endure their cold stares and discrimination every day. They act like I'm after something. I won't endure this for nothing. You need to give me some security. If you don't agree, I won't stay with you." Panicked, Zhang responded, "You can't leave. What would I do without you? Just tell me what you want, and I'll make it happen." Aunt Li replied, "Where will I live if you pass away? Your son will surely kick me out. You need to transfer the house to my name." Zhang refused, explaining that his son had already mortgaged the house to buy a new one. Frustrated, Aunt Li then demanded 100,000 yuan as a dowry and an additional 3,000 yuan monthly as living expenses, essentially her pay for taking care of Zhang, and a way to save for her own old age. If he didn't agree, she would leave. Unable to resist Aunt Li's threats and temptations, Zhang withdrew 100,000 yuan from his savings and gave it to her as a dowry. He also started giving her 3,000 yuan monthly from his pension as her salary. They lived together happily, indulging in good food and drink, enjoying a comfortable life. But the good times didn't last. Zhang, now old and suffering from high blood pressure, couldn't keep up. One night, after a meal and some intimate time together, Zhang suffered a stroke, barely surviving after brain surgery, but left unable to care for himself. When Zhang needed Aunt Li's care the most, she disappeared without a word, leaving his children unable to contact her. It was only then that Zhang fully realized his mistake, filled with deep regret. His story highlights the three fears elderly people face when living together, fears born from bitter experience. While it's understandable for elderly people to seek companionship, they should also consider their children's opinions, allowing them to help safeguard against potential pitfalls. After all, those involved are often blinded by their emotions, while outsiders see more clearly, preventing deception. Likewise, children should be understanding and supportive of their widowed parents, offering them emotional comfort without interfering with their freedom to remarry, allowing them to enjoy a happy old age. In conclusion, there is nothing wrong with elderly people seeking companionship, but it's crucial to choose the right partner. Alright, that's all for today's sharing. Thank you for watching. I hope today's content resonated with you. For those who haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click subscribe so we can continue to accompany you daily. Let's grow together, be happy together, and slowly grow old together. See you next time.